There are mounting fears in the international community of a new wave of terrorism originating in Afghanistan. Britain is the latest to voice concerns, with Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab telling the Taliban not to launch any attacks. The United Nations and China have also warned against Afghanistan becoming a safe haven, again, for terrorists.
Fear is keeping residents home in the capital. Kabul's streets are calm, and everyone is waiting to see what the Taliban will do now that they're in power.
To be absolutely clear, Afghanistan must never be used to strike terror attacks on either neighbours or other Western allies. They must try and promote a more inclusive form of government.
The Taliban leadership has declared a general amnesty for all government officials, urging people to return to work, and even asked women to join the administration. But Afghans still fear repercussions and the expected hardline regime. Military flights evacuating diplomats and civilians have restarted at Kabul's airport. It's been cleared of yesterday's chaos when huge crowds mobbed the tarmac in a scramble to flee the country. US, Britain, Germany and India are among countries that have already sent flights to pull their people out. But many Afghans who have helped Western allies in the war effort may be left behind.
We will continue to do everything we can for those who have stood with us, as we have to this day. But I want to talk openly to veterans that despite our best efforts, I know that support won't reach all that it should. On the ground, events have overtaken many efforts. We wish it were different.
There's been debate as to whether the American withdrawal of troops had led to the country's fall. But US President Joe Biden has said he stands by his decision. US forces are due to complete their withdrawal by the end of this month.
For a closer look at the crisis in Afghanistan, we're joined by Afghan journalist Fazel Qazizai in Kabul. Faisal, now that the Taliban has successfully taken over and has control, what plans do they have for the country?
Yes, as you are aware that according to the Doha Agreement, the Taliban are after inclusive government to be installed in Kabul. So they are not looking to install a totalitarian regime that run only by their leaders and forces. So therefore, they entered Kabul. They occupied the main ministries, the presidential palace, and all important offices in Kabul. They are in charge of the security, and they had established security at peace a bit better than the government of Ashraf Ghani. But still, they are not allowing themselves to announce their regime. They are waiting to the talks that are hoping to be started later today or tomorrow morning in Doha, Qatar, where some Afghan Kabul-based politicians also will be participant of these talks. After the talks, which were agreed with US and Doha Agreement, the Taliban will be announcing their regime, and also they will announce the system of the regime that they will be running in Afghanistan. So we have some times for that, but right now we see some flags with the title of Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, and also we see some slogans that is annulled by the Taliban and are used by the Taliban inside Kabul that have the title of Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. But officially, they are waiting to the result of the talks in Doha.
Now, the Taliban leadership have indicated they would be more tolerant and inclusive. Is this reassuring the people there? I am sure it assuring people in Afghanistan, especially in Kabul, because right now the main force in Kabul are Taliban. They are stronger, they occupy everywhere, they are in charge of everything.
So if they want to establish a totalitarian Islamic emirate as they had in the 90s, they can. There is no one to stop them, or there is no obstacle for establishing such a regime. But they are paying attention to their word and promises that they had with the U.S. Diplomats in Doha. So even now that I'm talking to you, there is no intention from the Taliban to announce their regime, at least to announce the back Islamic Emirate, which was captured by US after 9/11. So it's assuring us that the Taliban are, after talks, after agreements, and after solving the issue of the regime through political dialogue and a political settlement.
Okay, many thanks for sharing your thoughts with us this evening. Fazel Qazizai, a journalist from Afghanistan.
Simon Marks joins us live now. Simon, Joe Biden's very much on the back foot on this one. Does the United States have a plan to keep Afghanistan from becoming a breeding ground for terror?
Well, at the centre of Joe Biden's speech yesterday to the American people, which of course contained that full-throated defence of his decision to withdraw American forces from Afghanistan, although considerably less focus in the speech about the botched nature of the withdrawal operation, was a contention by President Biden that there was simply no need anymore for the United States to retain a military foothold in Afghanistan in order to damp down any efforts that are made to turn Afghanistan once again into a terrorist haven. He specifically cited, for example, American counter-terrorist operations that take place in the Horn of Africa, for example, and in other parts of the world where Islamist militants mete out a reign of violence to communities. And he said the United States is perfectly capable in those countries of striking Islamist insurgents. And there's absolutely no reason why they can't do the same in Afghanistan from, as he continues to put it, an over-the-horizon situation. So he was presenting to the American public the argument that there's no need for American military forces to be put at risk on a continuing basis in Afghanistan, that this sort of over-the-horizon approach of counter-terrorism actions when and where they are necessary can, he insists, serve the nation well. But there's a huge gamble in all of that, and there's also a short-term gamble that the American president is taking. The Pentagon press secretary has said within the last hour that the US government now believes there are between 5,000 and 10,000 Americans still requiring evacuation from Afghanistan, and a fluid situation at the airport in Kabul from a security perspective. So before the president gets to the medium or the long term, he's got to get through the short term and find a way of getting as many as 10,000 Americans airlifted out of the Afghan capital.
An extraordinary situation unfolding in Afghanistan. Simon, thank you very much for that. Simon Marks there in Washington, D.C.